I want to welcome two-time Grammy-nominated R&B singer, artist here, one of the best in the game to ever do it. Over 21 years here, independent in the game as an R&B artist, singer, songwriter, goes by the name of Eric Roberson. Eric Roberson, how's it going, man? Welcome to the show, Sports Hip Hop with DJ Mad Max, Live 265, iHeartRadio.
I love it, man. Two of my favorite subjects, man. So this is perfect.
And R&B and hip hop go hand in hand. When they collaborate together, something special comes out of it for sure.
I agree. I mean, really, for me, I just love collaborating genres. When you think of some of the biggest records that ever happened, is when polka mixes with hip hop, or like rock and roll mixes with R&B or whatever. So I sit up when a genre mixes over. It's like, oh, we're combining, we're collaborating today. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for it.
Hip hop played a major influence in you getting started because one of your main three interests in getting started was A Tribe Called Quest alongside of Stevie Wonder and Commissioned.
Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey. I grew up a hip hop kid, and when it came time to try to create music, it was rough trying to figure out. Okay, I'm in church half the week already. I'm putting that in there, house music, hip hop, and I think A Tribe Called Quest. And I got to give credit to De La Soul. Both of them were like they allowed me to remove the rule book and just really follow my heart. And like say, well, if it feels good, just follow it. And that's to me what Tribe Called Quest was really able to do a lot. So I wouldn't be the artist I am today without that.
Are there currently any hip hop acts that you draw inspiration from today?
Oh, all the time. I
Yeah.
mean, Kendrick Lamar's last album is killing. You know what I mean? I was really, really inspired by that. I mean, I listen to all kind of stuff, man. Earl Sweatshirt, like, give me whatever. Like, if you tell me somebody like, yo, you heard that joint's wild, I'm like, dial me up. I need to listen to it. For me, I'm constantly trying to hear the song I didn't write. I mean, the song I wish I wrote. You know what I mean? Whether it's hip hop, whether it's R&B, whether it's classical, whatever, I would want to hear a song go, oh my God, I wish I wrote that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I chase after. No matter what I'm listening to, I'm listening for that.
I really enjoy listening to your newest album, Lessons, because when you really listen to it, it just draws you right in because no matter what you're going through in life, God is always teaching you lessons. And
Yeah.
he just has this way of showing you different things and messages no matter what you're going through throughout your life. When was it that you embraced whatever was going on in your life and you said that God may be teaching me lessons here?
Oh, a million times. I mean, the reason why I'm an independent artist after getting, failed record deal after failed record deal after failed record deal, even relationship wise, like just kind of the more I try to control my destiny, navigate where things were going, the more I ran into roadblocks. And the moment that I was like, just be aware and allow things to happen was when things really started working out. You know what I mean? So, in every aspect, man. Like even you probably can hear my kids in the background right now. As much as I always think I got it figured out, it's like no, you gotta be aware of what's happening today. What lesson is there to be learned today? And once you figure out, it's like sports, right? So you take golf for a perfect example. I don't know if you golf.
I used to golf.
Okay,
Yeah.
so one day you go on the course, and somebody might give you a bit of advice. Oh man, if you move your feet in a little bit more, and you hit it straight, like my God, that's great. And they say, okay, I'm going to play tomorrow. You go with that same strategy, and you smack it into the woods. It's like because for some reason now it's a new day. It's the wind is different, the grass is different, and your structure is different. So you got to learn how you're supposed to swing that day and adjust to and life is it's the same thing as if you ball, you shoot hoop. Like, man, my jumper is water today. Oh my God! And you go to the gym the next day, you can't make nothing. It's like because you can't shoot off of what you can't shoot like yesterday. Today is today. You're being guarded by somebody different. The air in the room is different. Like so the rim is different. So you got to just always apply what's in front of you and try to learn from that.
Absolutely. Born in Newark, raised in Rahway. Were you a Nets fan growing up at all?
No, man, listen. So I'm a diehard Giants fan, which I was always told, at least my analogy was Giants, Knicks, Yankees, because it seemed like Nets, Jets, Mets.
Yeah.
Yeah, nah, I couldn't do it, man. I could. I went to a Nets game when I was really young, and I saw Derek Coleman, who I met later, man, was mad cool. Missed two free throws to lose the game, and I was like, nah, B. And then Patrick Ewing got drafted to the Knicks, and it was love at first sight ever since then. But I've been tormented. The Giants have been very rewarding, the Yankees have been very rewarding, but the Knicks has just been It's been tough, man. I need therapy, like for real.
I'm a Knicks fan too, so I know what it's like every
Yeah, man.
year.
I grew up not wearing Jordans. I was so dedicated. Like,
You're wearing
it,
Ewings.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
it didn't make sense to me that Spike Lee could be a Knicks fan, but yet shoot commercials with Jordan. Like, yo, you really working with the enemy right now. It's like, I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. I'm different now. My son has a pair of Jordans on now, and so now I can look back at it now. But oh man, tough years, man. And it's even tougher now. Like when they choked Charles Oakley out, they choked me out of that room. You know what I mean? Like that hurt a lot. But hopefully eventually, it ain't like I'm gonna start wearing a Phoenix Suns jersey or nothing like
Yeah.
that.
No.
You know what I mean? At this point,
Go
I'm in
get the
there now.
Kevin Johnson jersey or Nash jersey on.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Oh man, but yeah, the Knicks, it's rough, and hopefully they pull it together eventually. But you've had a hell of a career, being 21 years and independent. But there's been some bumps in the journey. Originally getting signed to Warner Records and being there for a short time because you originally got hooked up through the group Shy when you were on the campus at Howard.
Yeah, they were good friends, still good friends to this day, and I appreciate it, man. I mean, it was life changing. They were exploding. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen somebody one day in a dorm room, the next day like on Arsenio Hall, and then 2 weeks later they sold 8 million copies. Like it was like the label signed them and said you got 1 week to make an album, and it was like I never saw it. It was something crazy, but in all that time, I gave them my demo tape and they passed it on. When they remember that, like, yo, when we get to LA, we'll pass it on. And it created a buzz and created an interest. And that's really how my career started. But the biggest thing also too was up to that point, I think all of us were in at Howard making music. And I don't think Puffy Effect happened yet. He had just left, right? So I don't know if it was really impactful what was happening yet. Um, but we were trying to be the dopest singer on campus. I want to be the dopest songwriter on campus. And when Shy took off, it was like, oh, we could do this. Oh, we actually can have a living doing this. And I think so many careers that happened after that, Cy Smith to Chris Dave to Ray Angry, I mean, musicians, producers, everything. I think it started from everybody watching Shy really like leave and take off. Like it was pretty magical time.
They had some hit records. If I Ever Fall in Love and Comforter, they had their run
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, they had a good run, man. I think that let me tell you, them publishing checks are probably still looking quite good, man. And yeah, man, they're all doing good, man. That's the good thing. That everybody's doing good. Everybody's still loving music. Shy, not everybody, not all the original members are still in the group, but they're still touring and stuff like that as well. So it's a beautiful thing, man.
Something that I really enjoyed was the fact that you put Kenny Greene on your new album along with Intro, because Intro is very, yes, that right there, very underrated trio right there. And Kenny Greene, he's another talented songwriter who never gets his credit.
Yeah, for me, one of the biggest accomplishments for this album is paying homage, giving flowers to an artist we haven't had a chance to celebrate in over 20, 25 years now. So it's been a blessing, man. And I tell you, it's like a cult following. So like that, sometimes I do a show and someone will come up and just go, Kenny Greene. And you don't have to say much more. It's like, but I remember when Intro first album came out, and I think I was a sophomore at Howard, and just like, who is this? And then found out he wrote for Mary and stuff like that. So really trying to celebrate him. Unfortunately, he had an untimely death very early on, or early in his career. But if not, I think he would still be one of the legends. We'd still be celebrating and hearing new records from right now, because he really, I didn't meet him personally, but from working with the survivor members of Intro and all the producers I know who worked with him, this guy worked, like, wrote, created till he passed. Like all,
Yeah.
like it reminded me a lot of Jay Dilla. Like just worked all the way till, like, okay, I know I'm not surviving long, so let me just work all the way till I can't work anymore, or I can't breathe anymore. And so just trying to celebrate him.
Buddy, when I interviewed Buddy and Jeffrey, the remaining members, they told me the story behind Come Inside, and they said that everything that happened on that song was real, and they actually played that full track on the radio with everything going on in the booth and everything all explicit.
Yeah, now listen, what I will tell you is, for what I was told, and shout out to Buddy and Jeff as well, Kenny was a wild dude, man.
Yeah.
He's a wild dude. He liked to have fun, man. Like to celebrate and like to party, and he lived and he wrote that way. Like he wrote, he no need to hold back. Let's record. Let's write. He sung that way. Let me give everything I have into every word I'm saying. So It's a dope way, man. I think he was somebody we should really be studying still to this day. So of course I'm trying to pay homage to him when I can.
Fred Hammond, a huge influence of yours as well. You were able to meet him. That your friend surprised you with a meeting with him at a restaurant.
Yeah, yeah. It's a blessing that it happened. I was probably gonna fire them, and beat them all up for doing so. But me and Fred, that's one of the crazy things is that like even to this day, I'm kind of like scratching my head, going, "How are we friends?" You know what I mean? Like, here's somebody like the reason why I started writing, and now there's times when like I'm during this pandemic, just like he might just call him like, "Hey man, I'm just calling to check on you," or vice versa, and you go like, this is like literally Superman, Iron Man or Flash or Spider-Man literally calling you up like, did my hero just call me? You know what I mean? So, but he's a great dude, man, and it's been an honor and a pleasure creating music with him and sharing the stage with him and stuff like that. So that's one of the pleasures of really being in this industry that a lot of my heroes, I've had a chance to work with or become friends with, which is really mind-boggling.
What's amazing is the fact that you were able to accomplish this on the independent route, because not everyone would believe that, and just you staying through the thick and thin, because hearing about your stories at Warner, because when Benny Medina was there, he left as soon as you were signed
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I look at it now, man. I think it's all for the better. I think if let's even say that my first record on Warner Brothers took off and was hugely successful.
The moon.
Yeah, I don't think I would have, 17 albums, 16 albums, however many albums there are. I don't know if I would have the longevity. I might still be somewhere singing the moon, but I don't know if I would really have like I would be able to grow. And for me, it's all about just having. I'll tell anybody, like even my students or anybody I'm mentoring, it's like just have the audacity to keep going. I was talking to a female artist earlier today, and first I was asking, what did you want to do? Like in 5 years, where do you want to be at? And she spoke more about the fear. I know it's really hard to do this, so maybe I want to do that. And I was like, no, but what do you want to do? What is it that you want to do, right? I get it, it's hard, but what is it that, like, let's not talk about the fear. Let's talk about what, and really fight after that. Like, what are you willing to sacrifice and stay on? And for me, it was never another option. Like music was so in my blood, my creativity was like pushing me forward that there was no other option, man. And then I was in the industry enough to see getting signed wasn't always the right answer. I saw so many artists, so many albums get made that never came out. So I was kind of like, nah, let's try something different. Let's try something different. So it's worked out.
And speaking of that, when you first signed your deal, you asked for a pair of headphones because in Benny Medina's office, you saw a stack of CDs of shelved music. So you were listening to like unreleased Prince and all these upcoming R&B artists that we probably never even heard of, unfortunately. And that's what kind of clicked in your mind, like, this can't happen to me.
Yeah, that wall was from the ground all the way up, all the way through the entire office. And yeah, that first night, one of my biggest musical pleasures, right? But then you think 2 weeks later, a month later, a year later, when half that wall you never heard it again, right? And you're like, what? That was the first time that idea popped in my head that like it's not guaranteed. Yo, getting signed was easy. Like having a record come out and be successful, that's where the hard work comes in. So when you look at a music soul child, a Jill Scott or Anthony Hamilton or Eric Badu or even an Usher, to have that longer career on a major, and have that company still give you that much attention and work behind you and put marketing plans behind you, you got to tip your hat off to them because it's not easy. There's so many, I can run off for every music soul child. There's 20 guys who are just as talented, who came to New York, they recorded, and then after that it was over. And they were back home, cutting hair or, working in a cubicle or something like that. And it's like, wait, what happened? Why wasn't that like recognized, So, we used to be in the studios just always talking about that. I mean, really, it's funny, we were having a conversation, I was listening to a certain podcast, a basketball podcast, and they were talking about all the guys who were hooping really crazy in high school, but their game didn't transition in college or pros. And they're like, oh, that guy should have been pro. We say the same thing musically. We go, oh man, this guy? Oh, he's such an incredible singer. What happened? And for me, I just didn't want to be part of that lost art. I was like, man, at this point, I would give the music away before before I allowed somebody to tell me I couldn't do it.
What was a humbling moment was when you went back to Howard and
Whew.
all the people on campus were like, man, what happened to Eric? And eventually you were able to pull yourself out of it and go independent and start doing what you're doing now, especially with Blue Arrow Soul for all these years to come. Now, what was it that in your mind frame that you were able to pull yourself out of that period? Because that would have broke a lot of people going back to college and
Yeah.
after that deal went through, because it's like, once you can't get that deal, who knows if I can really start up again, but you did.
Well, the blessing was I had a scholarship. I think without that scholarship, I think, had my parents reinvesting or trying to go out student, it wasn't that hard. What I would tell you is I went back and they weren't going to grant me my scholarship first. My mom was like, well, what's going on? I said, well, the next deal fell through. She's like, well, why don't you go back to school and see about your scholarship? And I was like, all right, I'll go. And then at first they were like, nah. And I remember going back telling my mom, like, Mom, I don't think the scholarship's still there. And she's like, no, the scholarship's still there. She's like, you go back, you sing for everybody, you bring a stack of CDs there, you sign autographs, you do whatever. You don't leave that building till your scholarship's back. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, I practically was standing on tables. I love you to the moon, give me my scholarship back. I was like, whatever. And I got my scholarship back. But what I would tell you is walking across that campus again now as an unsigned artist, but no one knows yet, because you gotta think that. So I'm at Howard with a song out. When the moon was out, I actually was still there, and then I left and was touring and stuff like that. And then everything got quiet. It just instantly all the deals went away. So when I came back, it was still a little bit bubbling. Like, when's the album come out? Oh, it's coming out soon, I guess. And probably about next semester, it's quiet again. Now it's obvious, like, oh, he's back, and this is not working for him, and the money's gone, all this stuff's gone. But I would tell you that it was tough, it was humbling, but it made me better. And I think the fact that my lyrics got better in that time, the fact that my grades got better in that time, I think is what saved me, because it maybe was like, okay, I'm getting better, and it made me realize that I maybe wasn't that good yet. Like, when I was good enough to get signed, but I don't know if I was the artist that I wanted to be. I don't know if I was the producer or the songwriter that I wanted to be. So actually going back to school gave me that time. As embarrassing as it might have been at the time, it gave me that time to kind of work on my skill set and come back with a new fire.
And it all becomes full circle 360 because maybe that was God teaching you another lesson.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, completely. Because a lot of it is, that was probably the start of me saying, what is success for me? Let me define my success, and I didn't really understand it yet still at that point, but it was probably the start of it, because I found happiness when I went back to school. Sure, it was embarrassing, it was tough in the beginning, but I rededicated myself. I became a new person. The person you're talking to right now, like that was birthed in that time. So yeah, I started learning, like, man, stop trying to take control of so much stuff and just let it naturally grow. But at the same time, be honest with yourself. Like, I don't know if I was trying to be successful for what everybody else's term of success was. I was trying to chase this shy's dream and stuff of that nature, where it's like, no, what do I want? What is the dream that I have? And really chase after that.
You always speak about living in the, even on the song Lessons as well, just living in the present, embracing being in the present, because we often are chasing the future or living in the past. So why do you think it's so important to embrace the present? Because even I feel as though I'm always going for the future. I'm always on the what's next.
Well, you think about it, when a quarterback throws an interception, like, they can't think about the interception, right? At the same time, if a quarterback threw 3 touchdowns, they can't go on the field thinking about the next, like, this is the next touchdown. You got to be in the now. You got to be locked in. So for me, the lesson really comes from songwriting, because if I wrote a hit song last year or wrote a hit song yesterday, and I walk into the studio going, well, is this going to be a hit song? I've already messed up the session. So the only way I can really be true to the session is go, what do I have now? And how can I make it as good as I possibly can make right now? Like, that's all we have. Like, you and I right now, we just have this minute. Guess what? The next minute comes, this minute's gone. It'll still be this minute, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's like, so I can't treat my wife like my ex-girlfriends. I don't know who she's gonna be in the future, so I can only deal with my wife now. Same with my kids, same with my friends. So, for me, there's this phrase that I that I heard many years ago, but I practiced it. I use it so hard. It's process over product. And for me, the process of everything takes care of the product. If I think about how many Grammys it's going to win me or how much money it's going to win me, that's product. That has nothing to do with the process, and it won't lead you to have the best outcome. To me, if you say focus on the ball, sorry, sports reference, and you say focus on the goal, the product will take care of itself. And for me, songwriting is very easy to stay process driven. The struggle is parenting, is in my friendships and things of that nature, like really staying in the moment and not really worrying about the outcome. Even like marketing plan, when we think that, oh, this marketing plan is gonna do whatever, and we start posting on Instagram and it get crickets and like, oh, what happened? Why didn't it work? No, stay with the process. Just stay with it. Just stay with it, because eventually it will pick up if you believe in it. So I'm very much a now person, and even more like what I got to get better with. What I try is like think of somebody, call them now. You know what I mean? Um, you said you're gonna do something for somebody, do it now. Don't wait. Like I'm trying to get better with that, because it's probably just the best way to do it. Every time I think of my grandma, I should just call. Just hey, mom, grandma, I was thinking about you. Just pick it up and just instinct, not go. Oh, I'll call her when I get home. You get home, you get busy. Next thing you know. So I'm very much trying to be a now person.
You always spoken about watching the process and how things done. One example would be El DeBarge when you were on tour with him, just watching how he was creating everything and him fixing a soundboard backstage when the sound was awful at a Connecticut performance, and then even him teaching the difference between making a money album and an album that he wanted
Yes.
to do for out of his love and passion.
Yeah, he said he had an album. Mind you, I think this is 94, 95, and he had an album out. And I said, man, this is a really good album. He said, this is a money album. He said, I'm doing money albums to try to get to a good album. Not to mean he didn't put all his all into it, but I think he was really working for like true artistic freedom. And what I found was interesting, like, man, as much as DeBarge had succeeded at that point, as much as El DeBarge had succeeded at the point, he was still trying to prove somebody. And I was like, so I think another thing about being an independent artist, another seed planted was like, creativity is success for me. And like if no one can stop me from creating the way I want to create, I can just try to. I don't have to do money albums. I can just work on a good. Like I can just aim at. Now, mind you, the world tells you whether it's good or not, right? But what you're trying to put into it, you're putting something good into it in hopes that it turns out. And I think from day one, I've only tried to make good albums.
And you make music based on how people feel based on what the music that you make as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. It's a true relationship, and what I can tell you, I'm really honored to say is that, my fan base, I earned them one at a time. Columbus, Ohio, first show was 30 people. Chicago, 50 people. My first show in Washington D.C., 50 people, and now, a lot of these places it's 1,000 or more now. So how did we get there? Is by shaking every hand, by remembering when they came back, by challenging them to support what you're doing, and it's been a blessing, man, to really watch it grow. That's the example I want people to see. I know it's hard work. Yeah, it was hard. It was humbling. I had to sell many a time sell CDs to get home. You know what I mean? And listen, if you ain't got no other option the way of getting home, you're gonna sell them CDs. You know what I mean? So it was funny. I used to walk into the barbershop purposely with no money, but I would walk in with two CDs. And I was like, I'm gonna sell these CDs in the barbershop and pay for my haircut. It was like, it's just, even if I had the money to pay for it, I'm like, no, I'm gonna leave my wallet and walking with two CDs. And the CDs, just like, if you put your mind to it, you have no other option. It's gonna work. You're gonna make it work. You're gonna figure out a way to work. It may not work that time, but it's gonna work the next time or the next time after that. So that's really how we got to where we are.
Mhm.
Kind of, putting one foot in front of the other, and just taking the highs and lows, the good and bads, the wins and the losses.
And embracing them all and just learning about it's not all about completion anymore, because now you look at being is consistency.
Yeah, I wrote a essay recently on, I think it was called the 5 C's, and it's like consistency is now it's like it's the cousin to completion, and creativity, collaboration were the other two. So it's 4 C's. Yeah, but consistency is really really important. Um, and revisiting. Like if something works, revisit it. Just go back to that same place. I'm one who if if I wrote a song in the bathroom, oh, you're gonna find me tomorrow. Me in the bathroom. Like I'm
That's where
finding
you
it.
write a lot of your lyrics in the
Oh
bathroom,
yeah,
I've heard.
yeah. I spend a lot of time in the bathroom, just keeping 100. Yeah. So, but yeah. But if it's the same thing, if I'm on an airplane and I hear an idea, I wrote these albums called Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the Earth album, the whole album was written on planes. So I was like really early flights, like 6 o'clock in the morning. So once I got into a writing rhythm at that really early flight, I told the staff like book the next week, book me on. I need an early flight for the next show, and every time I got on that plane, it was there again. It's like it was just this, I found a rhythm. So yeah, you got to find what your consistency is, and it changes. It's not going to be just you eat waffles and the song's there. It's like no, but there's something that you have to keep trusting, and that you got to go back and find it.
I think that point happened for you as well when things changed was when you were songwriting because you're writing all these song placements even for Carl Thomas and
Yeah.
different R&B acts, huge artists in the game. And there were a couple songs that you started writing for yourself, and that's when you locked yourself in your studio and you said that no, these songs are for me.
Yeah, there was so it's really my second album. So if you look at my second album, it's called The Vault Volume 1.5. And because Volume 1, half the album had sold, the songs to other artists. And I think I had to really, at one point, introduced myself as, hey, I'm Eric Roberson, the songwriter. And if I want people to really recognize me as an artist, I have to be an artist. And it doesn't mean I can't write for other people, but you have to make sure there's a line. Like if I give you a song, that song's yours. If this song is mine, this song is mine. If I'm working on a project, I got to really dive in and give them 100% to the project, or else I'm robbing the artists. I'm robbing the fans. I'm robbing, so. And at the same time, if I'm working on an album, a Carl Thomas record, I'm diving in. I'm completely giving you the best record I could possibly give you. Same thing with Music Soul Child or whoever. But when I'm working on my project, I gotta give myself the same thing. And I wasn't giving myself the same level of dedication. But from Vault Volume 1.5 on, it's been rocking.
Are there any songs that you wrote for even artists such as Carl Thomas, you mentioned Music Soul Child, that you wish that you could take back and make your own ever?
Well, I will tell you, really the only song I ever took back, and then not for, not in a bad way, like I was giving it. I have a song called Pretty Girl, and Music Soul Child cut it, and the label didn't put it on the album. And I was like, I'll take that back. Let me get it. You know what I mean? But other than that, man, like really, once I give a artist a song, it's not mine anymore. Like I don't even, no matter if it's successful or not, I'm not like, oh man, I wish I held on to that. I will tell you that like with Carl Thomas, there was a song called Rebound, and I was really developing a sound. I was trying to mix like Sting and Sade and this soulful feel I was going, and Radiohead. I think I was mixing those three together. And I had this really quirky song, and I put it on the CD. So I was going to see Carl. I put it on the CD just really so I could hear it in the studio. Like, okay, he's at the Hit Factory, wherever he's at. I could hear it in these big rooms. So I wasn't going to play. I think there's no way wants this song, but it's like song number 8 on the CD, and the first 4 I thought were bangers. I thought he's gonna take all these. He skipped past those so fast, and then he gets to song 7 or 8, and it's going boom, 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 and he's pauses. And I go, uh-oh, and he's listening to it, and then he goes, which is I noticed that's him trying to check to see if it's in his key. And I said, oh my God, he's about to take this song. And in hindsight, would I have put it on the CD? I probably would have still. You know what I mean? I'm happy he did the song. But in that moment, I was like, no, that's my baby. He did a great job on the record, and it worked out. But for the most part, if I'm working on a project and we come up with a banger, I successfully gave you a banger. I'm just as happy that way. And then on my challenges when I work on my album, I got to come up with a banger for my album too.
And there's plenty of bangers on Lessons,
I appreciate
and I think that you even had your father on there, Pop Roberson.
Yeah. This is the second time over the years where they just came by, and my dad's such a great singer, and, cool dude. So whenever the mic is on, I'm just like, Pop, come on, get on it. and even what you hear, that's just one take. That's just him kind of messing around, and him and my mom just kind of laughing and playing around in the studio. But yet he's such a great vocalist, and but I really think I've been saying this. I'm saying it so I can put it, put it really to a reality is I want to write some songs for him, like really get him in the studio and really record. But it's always a good time to just have my family nearby. My kids have been on my records in some form or fashion because they've been in the vocal booth, and we were joking so much about Ray J in that verses holding his child, and shout out to Ray J. But I mean, I held my kids through albums, like
Wow.
albums, like as each one of them when they were a baby. I think Mr. Nice Guy was Rock, my oldest. I want to say the box was Ryder, and Earth Wind and Fire. I think the Wind album. Oh, Tigalero was Max. My album I did with Fonte. Like as soon as we started the album, when I came home from came out, like out the hospital with him. So it's like they. I just love kind of keeping what I love around me when I'm creating.
They're your A&Rs as well, your kids.
Completely. Let me tell you, if I play something in the morning while making some pancakes or cereal or bagels or whatever, I put it on, and especially like I wrote this song with Corey Henry for his new project, and I remember he took it, everything was great, but then my 6-year-old was like singing the other day, and I was like, he was singing the song. I don't even know if I played it around him. I was like, wow. So like you're like yes, yes, But if I play something in the truck and they like, Dad, can you turn the kids channel or something like that? It's like y'all don't even hear it at that point. No, it needs more work. But if it can get their attention, like Lessons, it got their attention immediately. It was gonna be something. So they got some good ears for being young kids.
Oh, I could definitely tell for sure. When I interviewed Brian McKnight, he actually told me something interesting. It was another lesson that I learned when he was doing all those albums in the '90s. He said he had no feeling in it. He was just doing it. It was a fundamental monetary albums. It was just to complete his deal, really, and he really didn't feel the love in it until some of his recent works with Genesis, Exodus. Was there ever a point in your career where you started to feel and have a passion for what you were really creating in a specific album? Was there an album that you felt as though that you felt the love that you were putting in to these records?
Well, I mean, not exactly. I think that's maybe where he's at was something different. What I will tell you is that I think passion was always there for me. If I didn't feel the passion, I wouldn't do it. But I will tell you that I had to be careful because I started falling into the obligation. So here's something you pray for and you want, and then you have it. But now it's like overpowering. Now the tour schedule is crazy. Now everyone's calling for songs. Everyone's calling, and it can get a bit of like you not as appreciating it as much. What I'll tell you is when I hit record, I'm always connected. But it will be the walking off stage or like walking to the stage where you're like, oh, another show. And then it's like, no, do you remember? Like, do you remember when it wasn't working? You know what I mean? It's like, so it took me like a second, but I think Music Fan First. I have an album called Music Fan First, and that was the wake up call for me. Like, it's called that for a reason. It's like, yo, remember you're a fan of this first. Like, before you ever, get to a point where you're ungrateful for what you prayed for and what you worked for. Like, remember that you're a fan of it first. And from that moment on, I've been connected, like connected. But I will tell you that there was a period where the obligation of doing music for everyone and everyone pulling on you and everyone calling and asking got a bit overwhelming. I can only imagine what a Brian McKnight and all his success, how that could feel. I know it had to be pretty overwhelming, as well as like maybe you have a contract over your head and you're trying to get out of this contract, so it just becomes assembly line. But I'll tell you the crazy thing is that he made a hell of really good songs,
He
and
did.
during that assembly line time, goodness gracious.
I know when he told me, I was like, anytime and back to one, there was no love feeling in that. That was just all for monetary and contract. Jeez, I mean,
But that shows how talented he is. Like, I mean, just that you could write a hit song in your sleep like that. But you know what? When you look at the history of music, and I mean, Marvin Gaye, and I read almost every book I could find on Marvin Gaye, and when you think of how troubled he was and how much he wrestled with, and still was still able to make such beautiful music on all different spectrums, on really dark stuff like Here My Dear, but on some really beautiful romantic stuff or sexual or happy or really like thought provoking, when yet there might have been times where he was wrestling with just being balanced, and that's probably a lot of artists where even in their darkest or toughest moment or as blinded, they were able to make some of their best work, even if they didn't feel it was their best work. You know, it's crazy, but I tip my hat off to all of them, man. I mean, Brian Knight is a force, a force to be reckoned with.
He really is. And Howard taught you how to balance things because you were friends with Marlon Wayans
Yeah,
when he was going to Howard, and it showed you that he could still do movies and go to classes.
yeah. He shot Mo Better Blues, no Better Blues, Mo Money. He shot Mo Money and then came back. Like you have a movie out. Like we're not talking about an album out. He has a movie out, and he's walking across campus. And as well as like not just that, his brothers have been living single, living color. I'm sorry, I'm making all the things wrong. Living color, and there's this trajectory that you see he's on. I mean, at Howard, he was not just the funniest person at Howard. He's one of the funniest people you ever seen, right? Just you don't want to get in a crack fight with him because he like you say a mama joke to him, you might as well bury yourself because he's going to destroy you. Just really, really funny, and yet could humble himself and sit in class to learn, And I remember that like it was a beautiful thing, man. He's a great guy, man. Even I don't see him much, but whenever you see him, it's just all love immediately. As soon as I see him, you can hear him from a distance. He's yo, your mustache is all uneven, and he's right, pew pew pew. He's like he's firing, but it's all love, Great guy, but that taught me a valuable lesson, and even I had a professor named Al Friedman, and he played Elijah Muhammad in the movie
All in
Malcolm,
Malcolm X. I did hear about that.
and like he shoots that, and then he's right back in class, And so of course you sit up when he starts talking about character development because you see the character development, you see he morphed into a different person because he clearly wasn't that in class, right? He was a totally different person, and you're like, okay, I'm understanding this now, So there was a lot of that, and then of course, so when the Warner Brothers thing started happening. That was Warner Brothers in California. I'm doing class on Friday, then I'm running to the airport and flying to California, and then I'll supposed to be back for class on Monday. Guess what? I might be back on Thursday. I think the teachers understood it. They understood that work ethic. They understood it, and I think it made us all better for it. That we all were working. The teachers were working. The students were working. We were all like really trying to get it, and it really helped me figure out how to balance it all.
Yep. You were taught lessons at Howard, and now you're teaching lessons at the Berklee College of Music in Boston now.
Yeah, yeah, it's been great, man. I tell you, it's probably the biggest challenges I've ever had because I didn't expect that it would take up so much mental space. Like I thought, yeah, sure, I want to learn, sure, I'm always mentoring, sure, whatever. But I find myself like, we're in the middle of a concert and the guitar player is playing a solo, and I start thinking about a question a student asked me in class that I still haven't answered yet. Oh, I still got to figure that out yet. No, like, wait a minute, I'm on stage. Like, why am I still thinking about it? Like, think about it Tuesday. No, I'm thinking about it there. I think because it means a lot. And those students are asking you questions not just to buy time. They're asking you questions because they want you to save their life. They want the answer to their career and guarantee a place or where they're putting their all in their heart into it. And you don't want to let them down. So I really enjoy teaching. I think all the things that I've accomplished over the last 2-3 years, I think the strategies that we've been doing come from me teaching. I can't teach a student something and not practice it myself. If I'm telling them they got to go hard doing this and this and that, well, why aren't you doing it? That's the first thing they'll say. You know what I mean? So I got to be the example. And even last semester it was very much, we're putting out an album. Watch me put this album out. Ask questions. If you see something go right or see something go wrong, ask about it. Let's talk about it. And I think that's helped the students out a lot, like watching me actually do it too.
What's something that you stress in your courses that you think that your previous professors didn't that you stress with bringing it to your own as a teacher and professor?
The most important word is completion. The second most important word is networking. And I think the main magic at not just Berklee, but any school, I think the magic at Howard University was not just what you were getting in the classroom. Sure, you gain something amazing in the classroom and you take it and you try to provide it be home. But the real magic at Howard University was in the dorm rooms. We all had our music equipment or our beat tapes, whatever. And at the same time, the relationships that came from it. So many songwriters and producers and artists came out of Howard from that 90s and early 2000s era because we all helped each other. And even on the very song we did with Kenny Greene, that's one of my homies I met at Howard. We did
Wow.
music at Howard. Almost 30 years later, we're still doing music. And whether it's the Rich Harrisons or Taraji P. Henson or anything, it's like, I think the magic is that over the next 30, 40 years, I'm going to open doors for you and you're going to open doors for me. And we're going to get there together. So that's the main thing I would tell like the students at Berklee. I say, look to the left of you, look to the right of you. You're going to need them, and let's build this together. One of my best friends, when we were at Howard and we were playing John Madden, football like all night. I talked about becoming a recording artist, and he talked about opening up a club in New York. And I look at it 30 years later, I'm a recording artist, and he has a restaurant club called Amarachi in Brooklyn. And it started. I remember the dorm. I remember sitting in the dorm. I remember talking about it. And I think through the years, he held me accountable. He helped me when I was having troubles. He talked me out of some dark times, and vice versa. When he was selling cars in Washington D.C., yo, remember what you doing? What's up with that restaurant you want to open up? And then at one point he had a little hole in the wall spot, and the challenge to build that up to something bigger. We got there because we challenged each other. We got there because we were there for each other. We opened doors for each other, and I think that's what we have to remember in the industry as well.
That's important that you speak about that. And it just all goes with the power of manifestation and visualization as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's no accident. I listen to for some reason, a lot of basketball podcasts, and you hear like the kid who grew 6 inches his senior year. You know what I mean? And you're like, golly, we knew him as a 6'10", power forward his whole career. But he's like, yeah, when I graduated high school, I was only, 5'11". And he's like, but it's something to it, man. But at the same time, looking at like Puffy, there was no stopping that guy. He had a different drive. You look at Kanye West, as talented as he is, his biggest talent is what you tell him doesn't affect him. Telling him that it won't work doesn't affect him. He's going to chase that idea, whether it's a music idea, whether it's a crazy sneaker or whatever. He's going to chase that idea. He might hurt millions of feelings and also like that. And it may not be all the way right, but at the same time, there's something to learn from it. There's something to learn from it. And my thing is just like, man, just take that dream part. Yeah, I'm at a point now in my career, man, and keep really behind. I'm almost in the game now, going on 30 years.
Yeah.
I don't believe in devil's advocate. I don't need it anywhere around me. I don't need anyone to tell me something's not going to work. Let me crash and burn. I've survived all the crashes up to this point, right? So at this point, if something else is not going to work, I don't need anybody going, nah, B, that's not going to work. If I'm about to get on stage with a lime green, lavender polka dot, double-breasted suit, let me do it. Let me do it. You know what I mean? Like at this point, now, or just the musical version of that, or the marketing version of that. At this point now, I'm still chasing dreams. I'm still chasing dreams, and I don't need anyone to tell me that dreams don't work. It's like I wouldn't be able to I'm taking care of my family doing music. You know what I mean? And I remember when it was a far-fetched idea. I remember when it was a dark, dark distance that was going to work, like when things weren't working. And I was like, man, is this really meant to be? And guess what? The next day, I went back at it again. You know what I mean? I have a good friend of mine, and I'll give you guys the names so you guys can search it. This guy named Miguel Wilson. He's a tuxedo designer. And I'll tell you that 20 years ago, he lost everything. He lost his business. And he just told me the story. That's why I want to share it with you guys. And just after he lost everything, the IRS called him and said that he owes them $2 million. So imagine losing everything. You lose all your houses, you pawned all your jewelry, you have no cars, you have nothing, no money, nothing. And then the IRS is like, hey, you owe me $2 million. And he asked if he could use a back room in one of his friend's shops. And he just started back. Started like one garment at a time, and he focused on men's fashion at that point. At one point, he was trying to do everything. So I'm gonna just focus on men's tuxedos, and he built it back to a multi-million-dollar business, right? And so we were talking with his friends, and his friends were talking about him, and he said the audacity to go back to it after everything burnt down. Like that's the drive that you kind of have to have. And he's like, man, he deserves everything he has because even when everything burnt down, he was like, I'm gonna make another garment. And you know what I mean? So like even when everything burns down, I'm gonna write another song. I'm gonna keep going till this works. I have no other, not even not no other choice. Not even like the desperation. No, this is what I plan to do. And the only thing that's gonna really stop you is you. Oh, that's not. This is not meant for me. I'm gonna stop. Oh, I got a better option. I'm gonna stop. No, no, no. I'm not stopping. You know what I mean? I love doing this. I love creating. I love putting words together. Um, and I plan to be 90 years old, God willing. You and I sitting up here, 40 years later, still talking about me putting words together. You know what I mean? So I try to instill that in other people.
It's powerful, and you have that same drive as Kanye and Diddy, in which you've spoken about it, picking up the pen on your worst days. Because there's a lot of times when people have bad days, they kind of just give up and just let it ride from there.
Yeah, put all of it. Put all of it in there. Like, I mean, if you put the same, you put your worst day, write about it. I don't believe in writer's block. Like I think your best day you should write about it. Your worst day you should write about it. Your toughest day you should write about it. Like that's why you're a writer. You know what I mean? And at the same time, it's still the same thing. Like put that energy into whatever you're doing. Put that energy to work harder. Put that energy to, if you had a bad day, get on that treadmill again. If you plan to lose 100 pounds, like put all of it into that, and that will get you where you need to go. And I'm an example of that. You know, what I mean, as a writer, it's like you can you can listen to the songs and hear, oh, that he's writing about a bad day. So there's no reason to say you can't do it. Like I said, I don't believe in writer's block because that's just being overly critical or being doubtful that it's going to work. For me, it's not about. It's not my job to even decide what's going to work. It's just my job to do it. You
Yeah.
know, my job is sports reference again. Shoot the shot, and whether it goes in, I'm gonna shoot my best idea of going in. But at the end of the day, Kobe Bryant had no control over the destiny of it. He had a control in the shot, right? But he had no way of saying, I know for a fact that every shot I'm gonna take is gonna go in, because then he would have not shot for such and such percentage, right? Some shots are going to clink, some shots are going to go in, but your goal is to take the shot and take the best shot you can take every time.
Exactly right. Amazing songwriter. You also have your book out this year too, Lessons, and you wrote your 100 thoughts on love and life.
Yeah. So just being a writer, I love writing, and I think when we were doing a marketing for the album and for the song, we had this idea of kind of writing a lesson to each idea, marketing idea, and it just listening to the people. People said, this should be a book. You should write more. This could be a book. So then we said, well, what do we need to do to make it into a book? And um, it's been great, man. It's created some more conversation, which I think is what you want out of art, and it's really also helped me to move into that next chapter, because I have two other books that I plan on writing. Well, actually, I already wrote, plan on releasing in the next year or two. So I'm excited about that. I love putting the words together. You know what I mean? So hopefully it can spark more conversations.
Yeah, I know for the Lessons, the acoustic remix, because you have some talented acts on there with Kevin Ross, Raheem Devon, Anthony Hamilton. But you've always had a great relationship with Raheem Devon, and even potentially getting a collaboration album together.
Yeah, I mean, me and Raheem now, our collaborations go back arguably 20 years, maybe even not longer now. It's good friend, man. And you think I write? Golly, man, this guy, he should be studied, man. He should be studied. Like almost every show he does, after that show, you find he's going to a studio. If he's in Idaho, he's gonna find a studio in Idaho to record. And but just a good brother, man. And I think he has a strong dream of putting together this super group, and he might be on to something now. So like hopefully do it soon. Like he really wants like four of us to all do an album. And I'm like, I'm down, I'm ready. See, he's got me. I think he just has to figure out who the other two members are. But also singing with Anthony and singing with Kevin Ross, who are also two great friends and amazing talents. It was really good that they all came in to do that song with me, and really take the time. They were all working on their own projects, so I appreciate the fact that they took the time to kind of sew into what we were doing.
And it's interesting to see the evolution of your guys' career and just the evolution of R&B and even hip hop as a genre. Because you mentioned demo tapes and you passing the demo tapes around in LA. You don't even hear about demo tapes anymore.
It exists. They barely have A&Rs now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, it's the industry has changed so much, and I watched it change. I watched it evolve. I watched how it shifted, and what you can't do is you can't stay stagnant and say, well, I'm only going to do it this way. You got to adjust. You got to with streaming. The world chose streaming. The fans chose streaming. So now it's like, okay, let's figure out how to work in the streaming, and even with social media, it's here now. Show me how you can work an album without using any level of social media, right? It's like you got to adjust to the changes, but it's interesting. Guess what? In 10 years from now, in 2 years from now, it's not going to be how it is now. I would tell everybody when you put out a new album, you got to throw away the last marketing plan. That's not going to work. Like the industry changes so fast and so much that you have to first listen to where the industry is. What's the new forms of communication? What's the new things that are working? And then, approach it again that way.
For lessons, I know that in the future that you would love to get Ice Cube on there.
I would love it. I mean, I'm a big fan of Ice Cube. So back in the early '90s, we had the same engineer. So he actually came to a couple of sessions, and we actually did a little freestyle cipher and stuff like that. But incredible talent, man. But all those like Snoop Dogg, Slick Rick, man, I'll take any one of the legends. Big Daddy Kane. I'm just a big fan of all the old school, man. They still kill to me for me. So I'll take any one of them.
In your mind, when you look at because you're a music fan first, as you've even made an album about it, what do you think is the greatest hip hop R&B collaboration song of all time?
Ooh, greatest hip hop R&B collaboration. Well, that's tough. I think what comes to mind. I think like "Come and Talk to Me," which is nobody rapping on it, but it really was like kind of the first time you took like a doo wop mixtape type beat, like an EPMD beat, and had somebody singing over it. And
Jodeci.
we grew up listening to that. Where they'll put a hip hop beat under Take Six, or like they might take a Luther record and put it with an Eric B. and Rakim beat, and it might be a different key and everything, but it was just like crazy that we're putting all this together. I think that "Come and Talk to Me" remix was the first time we were like, the rule book is gone. Let's work. Like music was different from that point on. But if we're actually talking about singing and rapping together, oh my God, there's so many dope ones. I mean, "You're All I Need," Method Man and
Mary J. Blige.
you don't get much better than that.
Hey Lover with LL Cool J and Boys to Men.
That's pretty tough. That's pretty tough too. L Cool J is me. He can do no wrong. There's some big ones, man. There's some big ones. Uh, um, what's it? Dear Mama, Tupac. Who was with Dave Hollister singing? I'm hard with names, but keep your head up. That's one.
Keep your head up.
Goodness gracious, the harmonies on that record. Dave Hollister, man, he just smashed that record. So that's another one. I mean, there's so many incredible collaborations of R&B and hip hop. Like I said, I could just keep going. I could keep going up many of them. You know what I mean?
And you have something in common with Dave Hollister, United Tenors.
Yeah, yeah, good friend. Still one of the greatest vocalists that's ever walked the face of this earth, and also just really humble. But I tell you, man, I know a lot of people. Dave Hollister knows more people in the world than anybody else. I mean, we would be in North Dakota, get off the tour bus at a McDonald's, and he'd be like, "John, Dave." It's like, how do you know like everybody? Like he knew everybody. But it also showed us what kind of person he is. It's a great person.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you thought about conducting your own Tiny Desk performance?
Yeah, we if they would have me, I think we would do it in same. It's interesting because we're actually recording here now, doing like an acoustic version of "All I Want," just to have that even for a tiny desk. But But I think Tiny Desk would be really, really cool. I think it just trying to reapproach the songs in a different way. I think that's the magic of Tiny Desk, of like just showing a different way of approaching it and showing it live and showing how you do it. I'm a live performer, so I would love to to do that. So hopefully we get Tiny soon.
That would be amazing. Have you ran into Benny Medina since after your deal and being 21 years deep in the game and independent? Have you ran into any of your old people there?
One time, just recently, actually, right before the
Oh wow,
pandemic started. Um, he manages Jennifer Lopez now.
that's right.
We were so I had an album coming out. We were all at Spotify, like just pitching, like just hey, we got an album coming out, whatever. Just kind of shaking hands, kissing babies, and my meetings were like 10 minutes right before his meetings. So like, and it's crazy. That was the first time crossing paths. Then straight then, and I think things were so hectic that I don't even know if, to be honest with you, I don't know if he put two and two together. I think like, it's crazy. Think about this. Crazy. That's 30 something. That's almost 30 years. No, it's almost 20 something. No, it's almost 30 years ago, the moon stuff. And we just talked for a quick second. But I don't know if we talked from a standpoint of moon. I think we talked from a standpoint of like, he saw what I've been doing. And even if it was, we didn't have much time because like we were all being pulled into different offices and stuff like that. But it was the first time. But it would be good to kind of sit back. But you got to think that Benny signed so many artists, and really, if you think back then, I'm one of the artists that didn't work. So he's probably thinking of the Karen Whites, the Princes, the Rich. He's thinking of the artists that he made tons of money from. I don't know if he really remembered too much of that. And even like, it's funny because Hiram Hicks signed me to Island Records shortly after that. Well, no, I'm sorry. Hiram Hicks dropped me from Island Records shortly after that.
Because he just became president and involved
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
so years later, I worked with Hiram, and you think like I walk in holding a grudge, and like he didn't even remember it. He came in and wiped the whole slate clean. But it was like, nah, come in here and get this money, man. Like 10 years later, it's like, nah, let's make some money, man. I'm not even worried about, man, you dropped me 10 years ago. Nah, man, let's get in and get this money. But at the same time, he didn't even remember it. He just was like, those A&Rs back then, they signed hundreds of groups, and probably out of the 300 groups they signed, 10 came out, you know, and then out of the 10, five were successful. You know what I mean? So it was interesting, but it was good seeing him. You know what I mean? I said he's another person who he's figured out a way to still make a living doing this. And he's had a great, I mean, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and, of course, Jennifer Lopez and so much. He's had a great career. So I appreciate him giving me one of my starts, you know?
Eric Roberson, 21 years deep in the game here. I know you live in the present, but there's ever a time that you reflect on it? What are you most thankful for? I know you're most thankful for your fans, of course, but what are you most thankful for besides your family and friends?
I'm thankful I'm still here and still able to do it. I think I'll be honest with you that yeah, I'm just now getting to a point in my career where I'm able to look back a little bit. Like I've been just pushing forward. But now, I mean, people have had kids to my music. People have gotten married to my music, been married for years now. People have healed, listened to my music through cancer treatments, and you know, people have said that my music help with their mental health or calm their autistic child. So I know how I listened to Stevie Wonder, how what Bill Withers' music did to me, what Sade did for me, what Tribe Called Quest did for me. So to now hear a student or hear a person say that my music did anything like that, it is pretty rewarding. So I'm at a point now where I could kind of take a minute and just kind of, not too long, but take a minute, just kind of go, man, this is pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. It's funny. Just a couple of days ago, it got warmer to finally get. We have a pool, and we got in the pool with the kids, and the kids are jumping around and was swimming. And just for a moment, I looked up and just said, "Yeah, man, it's pretty cool." And then right back to But just for a quick second, I just look up and just look at the sun, and look at the heat, and just look at the kids. It was like, this is pretty dope. And then it's right back to work, and it's the same thing. Every once in a while, I look up and appreciate the, you know, could it be more money? Could it be more awards? Yeah, sure. But guess what? We here. We're still picking that pen up, still writing, still voice is still there. I'm grateful.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that, especially that there's still fun in it for you, a lot to achieve. And I know it was just reported Daz Dillinger just retired, and he said that there's just no more fun in it for him anymore. And
Wow.
yeah,
Wow, God bless him.
yeah,
God bless him. He did a lot of great music, and I mean, to each his own. Everybody has a different story and a different relationship to creativity and to music. So if you feel like, and I'll probably be the same way. If I woke up one day and there's no more songs in me, no more music there, I probably would stop, I guess. But I had an idea today.
yeah. And
So,
you got more books on the way here.
yeah, what books to it? So I don't find myself stopping anytime soon. But at the same time, man, God bless them if they're able to retire and not be retired, right? But I retire on your own choice. That's pretty dope.
Jay-Z retired on those terms.
On your, like, if you can retire on your terms, not like no one wants to listen to you anymore and they stop you. I'm not a fan of that. I'm a fan of retiring. I'm not a fan of being retired.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's pretty dope. Shout out to Daz. That's pretty dope.
Yeah. Eric Roberson, what's next for you besides the books, performances, anything else you want to let your fans know here on the show?
You know, whatever comes next. I try not to get too much in the way of, but more books, more songs, more tours, and whatever else may evolve. I'm always trying to listen, to see what it is. But whatever it is, I'm gonna put my heart into it, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. And I know you will. And anything else? That's it. That's pretty much it. I think we covered everything.
Listen, the Giants may not be there next year, but the offensive line is finally heading in the right direction. Give us a couple years. What I'll say, I'm leave with this because I see you got the Yankees cap on. The Giants are the only, and anyone watching this, if you will, find me wrong any other way. I don't know of any other sports organization, maybe outside of high school, but any professional sports organization that's won a championship 4 decades straight. The Giants won in the 80s, they won in the 90s, they won in the 2000s, they won in the 2010s. It's only 2022, right? So we got 8 more
Got to
years.
get another ring.
I'm good with it. They've never, they've been good. They've been very rewarding, right? So show me a basketball team, show me a hockey team, show me any other professional sport that has won a championship. Now there's teams that have lost a championship 4 decades straight, the Patriots, and a whole bunch of others. But the Giants are the only team I can never think of, professional team that's won a championship 4 decades straight. So hey, we in a new decade. I got faith in my blue, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Eric Roberson, I want to thank you for coming on the show here tonight. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for all the music that you created out over the years here, especially with your new album, Lessons, Mr. Nice Guy, Picture Perfect. You have some classics in there as far as R&B goes. We're never going to forget it. Thank you to Sweet Locks for setting this up as well.
Ah, yes, that's my girl. Yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Next time I'll wear my Yankees hat. My good colleague, man. Thanks for your time, man. Appreciate it.
Of course, and they can follow you on Instagram at Arrow44.
44, yeah. And you can also go to the website, ericrobersonmusic.com. Yeah, everything's over there, too.
Yep, you could check that out. Eric Roberson, enjoy the rest of your night. Take care and stay safe, all right?
You too, man. Peace.
Peace out, man.